It's TK Friday, and today in the joy of editing, it's a full edit. I'm entitling this one Mysteries in Stone. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, and welcome to the joy of editing with Dave Kelly, and welcome to TK Friday. Today's image was sent in by Steven Ritts. Now, as always, you can download the image and the PDF notes and give this edit a try. I've titled this image Mysteries in Stone. It has a really cool otherworldly feel to it. By the way, if you have an image you would like me to edit on a TK Friday, go to the description of the video, scroll down through, you're going to find a contact me link. Contact me and we can discuss doing one of your images on a TK Friday. By the way, if you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, I'll have links in the description below this video that'll take you over to Tony Kemper's web store. There you're going to find the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, a lot of great panels over there you can pick up. Sean Bagshaw's training videos, which I highly recommend. And you'll also find the TK Grayscale and TK Magic Mixer plugins. They're sold as a bundle. You'll get both plugins for $12. If you're into black and white photography, you'll love TK Grayscale and TK Magic Mixer. Use my promo code DK15 and you'll save 15% off your entire purchase. When you use my promo code, I make a small commission, and this helps to support my channel, so I really appreciate it when you use my promo code. And not only are you helping me out, but you're getting 15% off. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Now, as always, I start out here in Lightroom Classic and just do some basic adjustments. I am using a linear profile in this image. I want to keep the image relatively flat going into Photoshop because I'll be doing all the major processing in Photoshop with the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. Now, basically, after I add a linear profile, I click Auto, and I make sure I'm not clipping my white or black point, and I just touch up these sliders a little bit here. And then as far as detail, no sharpening. I am using Lightroom's AI denoise. Now, for lens corrections, I always check on Remove Chromatic Aberration as well as Enable Profile Corrections. And then I did do a crop on this image. But other than that, that is all I did here in Lightroom. Once I've finished the adjustments, I right-click on the image, go to Edit In, and click on Edit in Photoshop 2026. And now, here we are inside of Photoshop, ready to get started and to have some fun. If you watch TK Fridays, you hear me say this every week. I'm starting out with a balance and contrast of sky and foreground, and basically what I'm trying to do is get the sky and the foreground to match and add some contrast into the image. So we'll do that first. Now, I'm going to use David Tillett's BNC Landscape Photoshop Action, but I have the entire process in the PDF notes so that you can do this manually. And I recommend that you do it manually if you've never done this before. That way you can get an idea of everything that's going on to set this up. I'll click on BNC Landscape and note that I have a foreground layer, a sky layer. They're both curves adjustment layers controlled by the TK color grading tool, which I love the color grading tool, and it's perfect for this opening adjustment. Now you'll notice that both of these masks are intersected with a Midtones 3 mask, and the Midtones 3 mask is just there to protect shadows and highlights from getting clipped. I'm on the foreground layer. I'll come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the Midtone button on the color grading tool, and then come and click on the brightness slider, and we're going to drag this, click and drag it to the right, and we'll take it over to right there, plus 25. Now, I want to give it a slight warming. I think the rocks will look really nice if I make them a little bit warmer. So come up to the color grading tool and the color wheel. You see my cursor. Anywhere you click in this color wheel, you'll drop a color grade in. So I'm going to click about right here. And now come back to the multi-mask panel and click on the black circle for shadows. And we're going to take this brightness slider and drag it to the left. I don't want to go too far here, but I want to go to right there, minus 20. And then we'll click on the highlight button and I'll open up the highlights and we'll drag the brightness slider over to right there, 35. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before, here's after. Already we're off to a good start. Now let's click on the sky adjustment layer. We'll start out with the midtones. I'll click on the midtone button, and I do want to lighten up the midtones a good bit, and I'll take them over to right there, 41. Now I do want to give them a bit of a blue color grade, so you see my cursor, I'm going to click in the blue area right about here. And now let's open up the highlights. So come up and click on the highlight button, and we're going to drag this over to the right, over to right there, 50. Now I'll shut off this layer. Here's before, here's after. Yeah, I like that sky. Now, if we click this button right here, we can see the overall before and after. This is found on the combo or CX panel, so I'll click it. We started out here, and now we're here. And now this is a good point to really study the image and see what you think it needs. I think what I want to do next is darken up the darkest shadows up in here. So here's how we'll do it. Right now our color grading tool is in the way, so just click the X. Nothing changes on the color grading layers. Let's click on the Luminosity mask button on the multi-mask panel, and let's look for a dark tone. You know, here's darks 1, darks 2, darks 3. Here's darks 4. And I like darks 4, but we could try the different color channels and see if we can get a better refinement. So let's click on red, green, blue, cyan, magenta. I like magenta, and here's yellow. You know what? I think I'm going to go with magenta. It's a little broader, but I think it's going to be good. And now let's output this to a curves adjustment layer. We'll click this button right here. And now we can see the mask has been applied to this layer. And all I want to do is change it to a darkening blend mode, which is multiply. So come to the combo or CX panel and click the MUL button for multiply. And just like that, we've darkened up those darkest darks. So let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. And I'm a big fan of letting the image talk to you. And believe me, it will talk to you. I know I may sound crazy, but I'm really not. If we look down here, we have a lot of light coming in here. And you know what? I would like to really tone this light down in this area right here. And I'll show you how we can do that, because I think it'll make this image look much more interesting. We're going to use a TK action. If your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the combo or CX panel. We're going to use a freehand vignette. But the first thing you need to do is draw a selection over the area you want to protect. But before I do that, on this layer right here where I darken the darkest darks, I want to pull that opacity back a bit. If you have TK opacity plus, you can just click the 8 right here. That'll just give it 80% opacity. If you don't, you can click right here and just drag this slider. And now we're going to make a selection around this area right here to protect it, and we'll darken everything outside of that. And we're going to use the freehand vignette. You can just use the lasso tool for this, but let's use the TK selection brush. This is a free brush you could pick up at Tony Kuiper's web store. What I'm going to do is click right here and click this button, and this gives you a normal selection brush. And what I want to do is just paint like this, just to protect this area, like right in here, the whole way up to here. We'll just paint this all in, and then you're going to want to click this button again, and you can see we have a selection. And now what you need to do is click on Freehand Vignette. A Gaussian blur dialog comes up. Just click OK. And right now you'll notice the opacity is at 30%. I'll click the 4 button. That'll give us 40% opacity, a bit darker. Now I want to keep it out of the sky. So we're going to click on the Layer Mask Calculator button, click on Sky, and click minus to subtract out the sky. And now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. See how our eye is going more into this area, and it tones this area down. I really think that is a welcome adjustment. But you know what? I think I want to darken this down a little bit more all around here over to here. And we can use a multiply brush to do that. So come to the combo or CX panel, hold down your shift key. While you're holding shift down, click on the MUL multiply button. You'll get a curves adjustment layer in the multiply darkening blend mode. And there is no adjustment on the curve. We're only using the curve adjustment layer to use a blend mode here. Also note, we now have a white brush and we have a black hide all layer. So what we're going to do is just paint our adjustment on here at a very low opacity. I'm going to use 20%. Right now I'm at 100%. I'll type my 2 key. That gets me 20%. And all I want to do is just darken this area down right around in here. Maybe up in here. I think I'll go down to 10% and just darken this a little bit more up into here and down in here. Maybe something like that should be good. Let me shut this off. Here's before, here's after. See, it just really keeps our eye up into this area here. I'm going to click this button to close down my selection brush. And what's next? Well, you know what else is speaking to me in this image? These darker shadow areas in here. I mean, they're not real dark shadows, but I'd like to make them darker all over in this area right here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll burn the shadows. So come to the Combo CX panel and see the burn tool right here. It has two sides, a left and a right. I'm going to use the right side. You could use the left side. It doesn't matter. The right side's a transparent pixel layer in the soft light blend mode. I want a brush opacity of 20%. And right now I'm at 10. I'll take my 2 key. And all I'm doing is, with a nice soft edge brush, is just painting over these shadow areas. But I almost forgot. I'm going to use Blend Diff to help me. So come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend Diff button. I'm targeting dark tones and not real dark tones, so Darks 1 should do the trick, so I'll click the Darks 1 button. And now I'll just be painting on these shadow areas all through here, maybe under here a little bit, over in here. What I'm going to do is keep working on this because this takes a little bit of time, but the Blend If is helping us stay in these darker areas. So let me finish this off and I'll get back and show you my final result. And I'm back. Now, this is before I burned the shadows in this area. So let me turn this on and here is after. Again, before and after. Isn't that nice? It really sculpts out this area in the rock and I really like that. But now when I study the image, I'm looking down where I darkened this area down here. I think the saturation came up a little bit too much. Whenever you darken an area, sometimes the saturation will pull up a little bit, so I want to tone that down. So what I'm going to do is click on this multiply brush layer right here, and then what I want to do is come up to the multi-mask panel. Now right now Edit Blend Diff is in the way, so I'll click the X, and I want to adjust saturation, so I'll click the Hue Saturation Adjustment button, and that adds a Hue Saturation Adjustment layer right here, but I only want to target the area that I burned or darkened with a multiply brush. It is a burning. And what I'll do is click this button on the Combo CX panel to clip it to that layer. And all we need to do here is pull back on the saturation. And now when I pull back on the saturation, see, it's only affecting the area that I darkened down. You see that? Pretty nice. And now what we'll do is I'll take this over to -53. Let me shut this off. Look at that darkened area. Here's before, here's after. See, it just eases off in that saturation a bit. And now let's click on this burn layer to make it active again. And again, I'll shut this layer off. Here's before and here's after, but I love what we did here. Now, as I study the image, I'm looking right in here. I feel this area, I like the lightness here, but I just want to tone it down a little bit. And let me show you how we can do that. Let's come up to the multi-mask panel. We use a luminosity mask. Click this button right here. Now this is a light tone. We're on lights 1. Here's lights 2. I'm targeting this very light area. Let's try lights 3. Here's lights 3. And I think lights 3 hits exactly what I want. It's also getting the sky too, but I'm not worried about that. We'll take care of it. Now let's output this to a curves adjustment layer. Click this button right here. Now I want to darken that, so we can use a multiply darkening blend mode. So come to the Combo CX panel and click the multiply button, and just like that, it tones that down. But it's also darkening up my sky a little bit, so come to the combo panel and click on the layer mask calculator button. You could click foreground and apply, or you could click sky and subtract and take out the sky. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Now, the effect is too strong. I'm just using opacity plus. You know, I went down and clicked on 5 and I thought, okay, that's not bad. Here's 6, 7, and 8. When I got to 8, I thought 8 was good. Now let me shut this off. 8 stands for 80%. And you can see 80% opacity right here. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. See, it just tones it down a little bit. And now I think it's time for a vignette. So if your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the Combo CX panel, click on Vignette. A Gaussian blur dialog comes up, just click OK. Now I want to keep it out of my darkest darks and my lightest lights, so we could come to the multi-mask panel, click the Edit Blend Diff button, and click on No Darks 2, No Lights 2. And now let me shut off the vignette. Here's before and here's after. Now, the next thing I want to do as I look at this image, I would like to put a gradient, like at an angle right like this. In other words, darken and then just fade off up into here, just to keep this area a little darker down in here, just to keep the light in this area focused. But first, I'll close my Edit Blend Diff panel by clicking this X. And now I'm going to use a multiply brush because it'll darken and it'll be perfect for my gradient. So hold down your Shift key and click on the multiply button on the Combo or CX panel. We don't see anything because of the black hide all mask. Now I know I don't want this to be very dark. So I'm going to click on the 2, which will be 20% opacity, and we can adjust accordingly from there. But I think 20% will be fine. Now we need a gradient tool, so in your tool wheel, click on the gradient button and make sure you click on linear gradient and come to the drop down and open up your TK gradients and click the white to black gradient. And then you see the little cross. We want to come like right here, click and drag up to like right here. And that's it. Now, if we don't want to see this line, we could click on the curves icon. Let's see before and after. I'll shut this off. There's before and there's after. See, it just really tones that area down and keeps our eyes moving into the light area here. But we're also getting up into the sky. So you know what to do. Come to the Combo 6 panel, click on the layer mask calculator, click on sky and click minus to subtract it out. Now what I would like to do is keep this darkening out of the darkest dark. So come to the multi-mask panel, click on the edit blend if button, click on no darks 2. See where it says gray with the check? If you uncheck this by clicking, we will take blend if off. So this is without blend if, this is with. See, that's better. It just keeps it out of the darkest darks. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. I really like that. And now, as I study the image, and I may be getting a little nitpicky, you may or may not want to do this in your edit, but I think this is a little too light, so I just want to slightly tone it down. And here's how I'll do it. I need to get to the multi-mask panel, so I'll click the X and close down the Edit Blend If panel. I'm going to use a luminosity mask, so I'll click this button. Now, I want to target these light areas. This is lights 1, this is lights 2, and I think lights 2 is good. I want to do some burning. Make sure you use the right side of the burn tool here because it really matters. So click the right side. What you're going to get is a blank pixel layer with the soft light blend mode. You're painting through a selection, but I want a very low opacity soft edge brush. So I want like 10%, so I'll type my 1 key, and all I want to do is just paint over here and just slightly dim this down just a little wee bit. Not too much, but I think right like that. Now, let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. See, it just tones it down. But now what I want to do is just lower the saturation in this area because I darkened it. And when you darken, you build up a little bit of saturation. I just want to tone that back. And the reason I use the transparent pixel layer, the right side of the burn tool, is because I can hold my command or control if you're on a PC. Click right here, you'll load that as a selection, and you get a warning. It says no pixels are more than 50% selected. Yeah, fine, just click OK. And now, come up to the multi-mask panel and click the Hue Saturation Adjustment button. And if we look at the mask on here by clicking the double arrow, you can see it's just targeting that area right there. Click this button again to see the image back. And all I want to do is reduce the saturation on that area that I darkened down a little bit. Not too much. I just want everything to blend and look normal through here. So maybe right around here should be good. I'll shut this off. Here's before, here's after. It's minor, but I think it helps. And now look in this area. I'll shut both of these layers off. Here's before and here's after. See, it just tones that down just a wee bit, but I like it. Now, when you got a really cool image like this with all these wonderful rocks in here, don't you want to bring out detail in those rocks? I know I do. So let's bring out some detail, and we'll call on the camera raw filter to do it. Okay, so come to the Combo 6 panel, click on the camera raw button. You're going to get a smart object layer. This way you could always go back and readjust in the camera raw filter if you need to, and look for effects and click on effects. And what we want to do is add a lot of texture. So we'll take the texture slider and we'll drag it over to the right, over to right there, 75. And now let's add some clarity. So we'll take the clarity slider and we'll drag it to the right, not as much, but over to right there, 20. Now it's getting in the sky, but we'll take care of that later. So we're just going to click OK. We can always come back and double click on camera raw filter and readjust if needed. We don't want this in the sky, just the foreground. So come to the Combo 6 panel, click on the wonderful layer mask calculator button, and we could click sky and subtract. This time I'll click foreground and apply. And just like that, we're only in the foreground. You can always use the layer opacity to pull back on that if it's too strong, or go back into the camera raw filter. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before. Here's after. Just in case this doesn't show up that great in the video, the detail I added, I went ahead and zoomed in so you could see it. Right now the detail is not applied. Let me turn this on And now here's the detail. Again, before and after. I just wanted you to really be able to see it. Well, there it is, everyone. That is the complete edit. And now we come to my favorite part where we see the overall before and after. Where did we start at and where did we end up at? So come to the combo or CX panel. Look for this button right here. It's the before after button. Give it a click. We started out here and now we end up here. So I'm really, as I always say, happy with the way this edit turned out. I love these rocks. This is a really cool image, and I do hope that you download the image and the PDF notes and give this edit a try and make the edit your own. You don't have to do everything I do. Do what you want, but at least when you watch my videos, you can see how powerful the TK9 plugin for Photoshop is. I don't know what I would do without it, and if you really enjoy TK9, let us know in the comments section below. We'd all love to hear from you. Well, there it is, everyone. Another TK Friday comes to a close. I hate to see it go, but if you enjoyed today's tutorial, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click the bell notification icon. Click all so that you receive all notifications. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.